I never thought a simple flight home for the holidays would turn into the most humiliating day of my marriage. My wife was 7 months pregnant, exhausted, and we'd been granted priority boarding like any expecting mother should. But one woman, this furious HOA-type Karen in a crisp blazer, decided that day that my wife was faking it all. She accused her, loud enough for the entire gate to hear, of lying about her pregnancy just to cut the line. My blood boiled as strangers stared, phones came out, and my wife's face went white with shame. I was ready to lose it until the gate supervisor stepped in, pulled up the records on her computer, and everything changed in an instant. Let me take you back to how this nightmare started. My name's Alex, and my wife Mia and I live in a quiet suburb outside Denver. We'd flown out to visit her parents for Thanksgiving, and now, late November, we were heading home. Mia's pregnancy had been tough. High blood pressure, constant nausea, the works. But she was glowing that day, despite the fatigue. We checked in online, uploaded the medical note like the airline requires for priority boarding after 28 weeks, and everything was approved. Or so we thought. We got to the gate early because Mia's back was killing her, and standing for long made her swell up. The agent scanned our tickets, smiled, and waved us into the priority lane. That's when Karen appeared. Mid-50s, perfectly highlighted hair, designer carry-on, and that unmistakable look of someone who spent years policing neighborhood Christmas lights and trash can placement. She was standing right behind us in regular boarding, arms crossed, lips pursed, staring at Mia's belly like it personally offended her. At first, it was just the stare, then a loud sigh. Then she leaned forward and muttered, "Unbelievable," loud enough for Mia to hear. My wife glanced back nervously, but said nothing. I squeezed her hand. We were inches from the jet bridge. Freedom! But Karen wasn't done. As the agent took our boarding passes, Karen pushed forward, actually pushed, and snapped, "Excuse me, but I think there's been a mistake here." The agent looked up, confused. Karen pointed straight at Mia's stomach. "This woman is clearly not as far along as she claims. I've seen enough pregnancies in my time to know. She's abusing priority boarding, and it's unfair to those of us who follow the rules." The gate area went dead silent. Every single person turned. Mia froze, her hand instinctively covering her bump. I felt my face burn hot. "Ma'am," I started, trying to keep my voice steady. "My wife is 7 months pregnant. We have documentation." Karen cut me off with a sharp laugh. "Documentation? Anyone can print something off the internet these days. I've lived in gated communities for 20 years. I know how people game the system." She turned to the agent. "I demand you check her records properly. I'm not boarding until this is resolved." The agent, a young guy who clearly wasn't paid enough for this, hesitated. "Ma'am, their boarding passes scanned fine, and priority was pre-approved." "Not good enough," barked Karen. "Call your supervisor, now." Mia's eyes filled with tears. She whispered to me, "Alex, I just want to sit down." Her voice cracked. Strangers were openly filming now. A teenage girl whispered, "That's messed up," to her mom. An older man shook his head. I wanted to shout, to drag Karen away, anything, but I knew exploding would only make it worse for Mia. Then the gate supervisor arrived. Tall woman, mid-40s, name tag reading L. Ramirez. Calm, professional, no nonsense. Karen launched into her speech again, louder this time, gesturing wildly at Mia's belly. "This is fraud. She's taking advantage of a benefit meant for truly pregnant women. I won't stand for it." Supervisor Ramirez listened without expression, then turned to the agent. "Pull up their reservation." The agent typed quickly. Karen smirked, folding her arms like she'd already won. Ramirez studied the screen for what felt like forever. My heart pounded. Mia gripped my arm so hard it hurt. I kept thinking, what if there was some glitch? What if the medical note didn't upload right? What if we got delayed and Mia had to stand here longer? Finally, Ramirez looked up, not at Karen, but straight at Mia. Her face softened. Then she turned to Karen, and her voice went ice cold. "Ma'am, I've reviewed the records. Everything is in order." Karen opened her mouth to protest, but Ramirez raised a hand. "In fact, Mrs. Thompson here isn't just approved for priority boarding, she's flagged for additional assistance due to a high-risk pregnancy. Doctor's note uploaded 3 weeks ago, confirmed by our medical desk." Karen's face twitched. But Ramirez wasn't finished. She leaned in slightly. "And just so we're clear, falsely accusing a passenger of fraud is a serious matter. I'll be noting this incident." The gate erupted in murmurs. Someone actually clapped. Karen went bright red, grabbed her bag, and stormed to the back of the line without another word. I thought that was the end of it. We boarded, got Mia settled with extra pillows, and I held her while she quietly cried from the stress. I was furious, relieved, ready to put the whole thing behind us. But that wasn't the end. Not even close. We settled into our seats, row 12, bulkhead, extra leg room the airline had automatically assigned because of Mia's high-risk flag. I helped her buckle the seatbelt under her bump, got her water, and tried to joke about how we'd laugh at this later. But Mia wasn't laughing. She kept staring out the window, eyes glassy, one hand protectively on her stomach. "I've never felt so small in my life," she whispered. I kissed her forehead and promised that Karen would think twice next time. The plane filled up slowly. Passengers filed past, some giving us sympathetic smiles, others avoiding eye contact, like we were still the center of drama. That's when I noticed her again. Karen boarded last, of course, now stuck in a middle seat near the back because she'd stormed off in a huff and lost her original spot. She shuffled down the aisle, clutching her bag like a shield, face still flushed from the gate showdown. Most people ignored her, but a few shot dirty looks. She avoided eye contact with everyone, until she reached our row. She stopped dead. For a split second, I thought she'd apologize. Maybe the public humiliation had sunk in. But no. Her eyes locked on Mia's belly again, narrowed, and then flicked up to me with pure venom. She muttered something under her breath, sounded like ridiculous, and kept moving. I felt my jaw clench. Mia didn't even look up. She just squeezed my hand harder. The flight attendants did their safety demo, doors armed, taxi to the runway. I figured that was it. Turbulence ahead, maybe, but the Karen storm was over. I was so wrong. About 20 minutes after takeoff, drinks cart rolling, the cabin lights dimmed for the movie service, Mia finally dozed off against my shoulder, exhausted from the stress. I was watching some mindless action flick when a shadow fell over us. I looked up, and there was Karen, standing in the aisle right next to our row, phone in hand. At first, I thought she was just waiting for the bathroom, but she wasn't moving. She was angling her camera, subtly, she thought, straight at Mia's sleeping face and exposed belly where the blanket had slipped. Recording. My stomach dropped. "What the hell are you doing?" I hissed, keeping my voice low so I wouldn't wake Mia. Karen didn't even flinch. She lowered the phone just a fraction and gave me this smug little smile. Documenting fraud for the airline's corporate office. Someone needs to hold people accountable. You're kidding me. I unbuckled, ready to stand, but the seatbelt sign was still on and the cart blocked the aisle. "Delete that right now." "Or what?" she whispered back, venom dripping. "You'll assault a concerned citizen? I'm posting this to our neighborhood Facebook group, too. We don't tolerate line cutters in our community." Neighborhood group? That's when it hit me. She recognized us. Not from the airport, from home. I felt ice run down my spine. We live in a master-planned community with an insanely strict HOA. Karen wasn't just some random entitled flyer. She was on our HOA board. I'd seen her at meetings, always the one fining people for unapproved holiday lights or wrong color mailboxes. Her name was Deborah Whitmore, but everyone behind her back called her Deck Nazi because she once made a guy repaint his entire deck over a shade discrepancy. And now she thought Mia, my very pregnant wife, was gaming the system. "Deborah," I said quietly, using her real name to let her know the game had changed. Her eyes widened just a hair. "You're harassing a pregnant woman on a flight. Stop now or I call the crew." She smirked again. Go ahead, I'll tell them you threatened me." Then she leaned in closer, voice a poisonous whisper. "I've been watching you two. That bump appears and disappears depending on the day. Convenient how it's always biggest when there's a perk involved." Mia stirred at the sound of voices, eyes fluttering open. She saw Deborah looming over us, phone still in hand, and went pale all over again. "Alex, it's okay, babe. Go back to sleep." But it wasn't okay. Deborah straightened up, triumphant, and finally moved back to her seat. I hit the call button immediately. A flight attendant appeared fast, different one this time, older, sharp eyes. I explained in a low voice, passenger recording my pregnant wife without consent, making repeated accusations, causing distress. The attendant's face hardened. She asked for Deborah's seat number, then disappeared toward the rear. 5 minutes later, the captain came on the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing some unexpected turbulence in passenger behavior. Federal regulations prohibit recording other passengers without permission. Please remain seated with seatbelts fastened." Subtle shade. A few passengers chuckled. I saw heads turn toward the back. But Deborah wasn't done fighting. Halfway through the flight, the seatbelt sign went off for good. Mia needed the bathroom, so I helped her up. As we slowly made our way down the aisle, every eye followed, some supportive, some curious. We passed Deborah's row. She was pretending to read a magazine, but the second Mia walked by, Deborah accidentally stuck her foot out. Mia stumbled hard, grabbing my arm to steady herself. A sharp gasp escaped her. "Ow!" as pain shot through her back. The whole cabin saw it. 2 passengers jumped up. "Did she just trip her?" someone hissed. I whipped around. "Are you serious right now?" Deborah feigned shock. "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. My leg must have fallen asleep." But her eyes said different. Mia was shaking, tears threatening again. "Alex, I felt the baby kick hard. I need to sit." I got her back to our seats fast and hit the call button again. This time the purser came running. Mia explained through quiet tears that the jolt hurt, that her doctor had warned against sudden movements because of placenta issues. The purser's face went deadly serious. She radioed the cockpit. Minutes later, the captain announced we'd be making an unscheduled stop for a passenger medical concern and to allow federal authorities to meet the aircraft. The cabin erupted in whispers. Phones came out again, this time aimed at Deborah. She finally looked scared. And as we began descent into an unexpected airport, the purser stood at the front and addressed everyone. Federal law prohibits interference with fellow passengers, especially those with medical needs. Air marshals will board upon landing. Deborah sank low in her seat, face ashen. I held Mia close, heart pounding. I thought the worst was over, but when those doors opened and the marshals stepped on, something happened that made me question everything I thought I knew about why Deborah had targeted us in the first place. The plane touched down in Salt Lake City with a jolt that made everyone grip their armrests. The captain's voice came over the speakers, calm but firm. "Folks, remain seated with seatbelts fastened. Federal air marshals will be boarding shortly to speak with a passenger. This is routine, so please cooperate." You could feel the tension ripple through the cabin like electricity. Phones were out again, discreetly filming toward the back. 2 air marshals boarded within minutes, both in plain clothes, badges flashing as they moved straight to Deborah's row. One stood in the aisle, while the other leaned down to speak quietly. Deborah's face had gone from purple rage to ghost-white panic. She kept shaking her head, voice rising in pitch. "This is a misunderstanding. I was only trying to protect airline policy." The purser handed over a tablet, probably the incident report, and the marshals reviewed it on the spot. Passengers around her shifted away, creating an invisible bubble. A woman in the window seat next to Deborah actually asked to be moved. The marshals escorted Deborah to the front galley, out of sight but not out of earshot. Her protests echoed. "I have rights. You can't detain me for speaking up." Mia was trembling beside me, one hand on her belly. "Alex, is the baby okay? That stumble earlier." I reassured her as best I could, rubbing her back, but my own heart was racing. I kept thinking, fines, maybe a no-fly list mention. She deserved it. After 20 minutes on the ground, the marshals reappeared with Deborah in tow. She was handcuffed, plastic zip ties actually, and her designer carry-on had been confiscated. The lead marshal addressed the cabin briefly. The passenger has been removed for interference with crew members and endangering another passenger. We'll be clearing the aircraft shortly to continue to Denver. Thank you for your patience. The cabin erupted in spontaneous applause. Someone yelled, "Good riddance!" Mia finally let out a long breath, tears of relief this time. I kissed her temple and whispered, "It's over, babe. She's gone." But as the marshals led Deborah up the jet bridge, she suddenly twisted around, awkward with her hands bound, and locked eyes with me. Her expression wasn't angry anymore. It was broken, defeated, and something else I couldn't place. Then she shouted, loud enough for the entire plane to hear, "Ask your wife how she really got that doctor's note, Alex. Ask her about the clinic in Boulder." The applause died instantly. Heads swiveled toward us. Mia went rigid in her seat. My stomach plummeted. What is she talking about?" I asked Mia quietly, dread creeping in. Mia wouldn't meet my eyes. She stared at her lap, hands clutching her bump protectively. "Alex, I can explain." The marshals paused at the door, looking back. Deborah wasn't done. Tears streaked her mascara now. "That high-risk flag? It's because she paid for a fake note. My husband is the OBGYN who refused to sign it. He told me everything, how she begged, offered cash, said she needed the perks because standing hurt too much to work. When he said no, she threatened to report him for discrimination." The cabin went deadly silent. I felt every stare burning into us. Mia's voice was barely a whisper. It's not the whole story." But Deborah kept going, voice cracking. "My husband lost his job over this. The clinic investigated, cleared him, but the damage was done. Patients left, reputation ruined, all because your wife couldn't wait in line like the rest of us." I turned to Mia, heart pounding. "Is this true? Did you try to buy a note?" Mia finally looked up. Tears streamed down her face, but she wasn't denying it. "I was desperate, Alex. The nausea, the swelling. I couldn't stand for hours at work anymore. I just wanted a note for accommodations, not even thinking about flights. When Dr. Whitmore refused, I panicked. I said things I shouldn't have. I never paid anyone, but I did go to another clinic that approved me legitimately." Deborah sobbed from the doorway. "It doesn't matter. You destroyed our lives over priority boarding and a few extra sick days." The marshals pulled her away, the door closing behind them. The cabin sat in stunned silence. I didn't know what to feel. Rage at Deborah for the harassment and tripping, or betrayal that Mia had hidden this chapter from me. The purser approached carefully. "Sir, ma'am, we've confirmed your current documentation is valid. You're cleared to continue, but corporate will likely follow up." We landed in Denver an hour late. No one clapped when we deplaned. Just awkward glances and hurried steps. Mia and I haven't spoken much since. She swears the current pregnancy records are real, that the risks are genuine, but the doubt lingers. And every time I pass Deborah's perfectly manicured house in our neighborhood, for sale sign now staked in the yard, I feel this knot in my gut. Was Deborah a monster who terrorized a pregnant woman for sport? Or was she a wife fighting back the only way she knew how, against someone who'd already cost her family everything? I still don't have an answer, but one thing's for sure, I'll never look at priority boarding, or my own wife, the same way.
If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Every single subscription motivates me to bring you even more exciting and dramatic HOA stories. And don't forget to tap the bell icon so you never miss a new upload. I'll see you in the next story, where justice gets even more satisfying.